Alright guys, in my final scouting report of the 2017 NFL draft season, I wanted to take a look at DeShone Kizer from Notre Dame. In my opinion, he is the #1 quarterback in this year's draft class. If you are a fan of college football, you will remember when Notre Dame opened their season versus the University of Texas. I say that because this game was absolutely incredible. It was the back and forth double overtime match that we all thought the Alabama-USC game was supposed to be. In this game, Kizer beat out Malik Zaire, scoring 6 touchdowns including this beautiful fade route pass to the corner of the end zone. The last QB battle from my recollection that was this epic was in Friday Night Lights when Matt Saracen lost a job to J.D. McCoy in the 3rd season. In my opinion, Kizer has all the traits to be a franchise quarterback. His best fit in the NFL is with the Houston Texans. He has the size and arm strength that Bill O'Brien likes with his quarterbacks. They need a new one after Brock Osweiler was a complete bust and he was traded to the Browns. The Arizona Cardinals is another place where I can easily see him being a great fit. He could back up Carson Palmer for 1 to 2 seasons, which would definitely help with his development. As a prospect, Kizer has the size, athleticism, and an over-the-top delivery which scouts love. Where he struggles is going through his progressions, throwing with anticipation, and he generally lacked confidence throughout the season, which definitely affected his mechanics and accuracy. Even though he is my #1 quarterback, he still only has an early 2nd round grade, and here's why. Throughout the season, his play was inconsistent. I say that lightly, but I honestly can't remember a time where I found a player in this year's draft class who looked like a 1st overall pick at times, then who was benched in a game later in the season. I mean, early in the season, he was confident, he stepped into his throws, and he placed some excellent passes around the field. Here's an excellent example versus Michigan State in the 3rd quarter. Kizer placed the pass in the front corner of the end zone, in only a spot his wide receiver could catch the ball. While his receiver didn't make the grab, this is still a perfect throw, showing the arm talent necessary to be a star quarterback. This play made me super excited for his future. After watching the UT and Michigan State games, it surprised me how poorly he played against Stanford though. He missed multiple wide open receivers, including his 3rd quarter pass on the run. Like I said before, his head coach Brian Kelly even benched him due to how poorly he was playing in this game. In my previous videos, we went into depth about different quarterback mechanics. For Kizer, he tends to rely on a baseball-type delivery with his base being too wide. On this dig route versus Texas in the 2nd quarter, he hits his receiver right after the break. In general, he tends to hold the ball too low, which elongates his throwing motion. I mentioned this before, but his confidence definitely affects his mechanics. Going back to the Stanford match, he stopped stepping up into his throws, which he definitely did versus UT and Michigan State. Then he threw this interception. I'm honestly fine with why he threw the pass on 4th down, but it's the mechanics under pressure which is what I'm referring to here. At Notre Dame, Kizer had to digest a pretty complex playbook and he learned many pro concepts. One of his biggest weaknesses, however, is that he tends to stare down his first read for far too long. It is infuriating at times. It gets to the point where he'll miss wide open receivers. Versus UT in the 3rd quarter, his receiver runs a post route. Kizer's passes perfectly fit into a tight window behind the linebacker. The issue is that because Kizer stared down his read, instead of looking off the safety, his receiver was absolutely destroyed by the safety breaking up the pass. Looking to the right side of the field, he should have glanced at the corner route in order to drag the safety away from his throwing lane. A common theme throughout the season was that his decision making and vision seemed to lapse. Versus Michigan State in the 3rd quarter, he stared down this curl route waiting for the receiver to break. The Spartans are in cover 4 with 2 deep defenders pre-snap, meaning that the hook curl defender is not going to vacate his area. Kizer did not recognize this coverage, and this is what caused the interception. In Notre Dame's final game of the season versus USC, Kizer did a great job of stepping up into the pocket avoiding the rush. He then looks to his slot receiver, completely missing the defender with inside leverage. Now, if you want Kizer to execute a perfect play, you tell his receiver to run a slant and go. Kizer has a monster pump fake. In the same USC game, he completely fools the cornerback who drives at where he thinks Kizer is going to throw the pass. Even in the NFL, I can easily see this pump fake working. Like many quarterbacks in the modern college era, Kizer was used on many read option runs and quarterback draws. He has underrated athleticism and is a great ball carrier. This can be seen versus UT, where he scored a much needed touchdown while the Irish were down by 17. Inside the pocket, Kizer tends to hold the football outside his body when he scrambles. He has 13 career fumbles, so even though he avoided Malik McDowell initially, he needs to protect the football with both hands to ensure he doesn't lose it. Determining his player comparison based on his traits has been extremely difficult for me. But based on everything I've seen, I think Colin Kaepernick from the San Francisco 49ers fits in the best in my opinion. Both have good size, arm talent, and the mobility to escape the pocket. Coming out of school, both were pretty raw in terms of going through reads and progressions. Kizer has much more experience in a pro-style system than Kaepernick did coming out of Nevada, but he still needs more time to develop. This can be seen versus USC, where he stares down the outside receiver, completely missing the open slot receiver on his hitch route. Overall, I think Brian Kelly was right about Kizer. He probably should have stayed at school for another season. I mean, I get the reason why he entered the draft, and he easily has a top-tier skill set, but he just needs to be more consistent, especially with going through his reads and his mechanics. In case you were wondering, after watching all 4 of my quarterback breakdowns, here are my grades in order of each player. As you can see, I feel like the top 3 guys are very similar in terms of ability and their transition to the NFL. Each has their own strengths and weaknesses, and I personally would not spend a first-round selection on any of them. Well, this video is my final scouting report of the 2017 NFL Draft season. I want to extend a warm thank you to everyone that enjoys these videos as much as I do love creating them. Also, a big thank you for everyone that has supported my work on my Patreon account. It really does mean a lot to me. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at SammyRGold, and I hope you enjoy the upcoming draft.